fluid coding and AI. The real agent UI question is not whether chat can show a button, it is where the truth lives when search results, forms, charts, and approvals all change at once. Today, we test the same agent workflow 3 ways. The workflow is deliberately ordinary because ordinary is where agent interfaces break. Find candidate AI conference venues. Compare the search results. Fill an event intake form. Generate a cost and risk chart. Then ask the user to approve a tentative booking request. That one flow needs filtering, validation, selection, visualization, and a human approval gate. If the agent stuffs all of that into chat, the transcript becomes a fake database. The 3 patterns are not equally ambitious. Plain text tool output is the universal fallback. MCP apps give the tool its own sandboxed web interface inside the host. A2UI sends declarative JSON for the host to render with trusted native components. The question is not which one looks best in a demo. The question is which one keeps the user, the model, the UI, and the backend talking about the same facts. Start with plain text. The MCP server exposes ordinary tools. The tools return content and structured data. The model summarizes results, asks follow-up questions, and renders markdown-style lists or tables. This is boring in the best way. It works across hosts. It is easy to log. The model can see what it is reasoning over. For 3 venue candidates and 1 confirmation, plain text may be exactly right. Then the user starts exploring. Sort by price. Filter under $10,000. Only show venues with good audio-visual support. Compare capacity against risk. Change the date. Keep the first and third venues, but remove the hotel package from the third. Now every click becomes another chat turn. Tables get cramped. The model may summarize away the row the user cared about. The form state is not a form anymore. It is a memory exercise. MCP apps are the second version. An MCP tool declares a UI resource. The host fetches a UI resource, renders it in a sandboxed iframe, and lets that iframe communicate with the host through MCP-flavored JSON RPC over post message. In practice, the tool can return a real interactive venue browser, filters, cards, a map, a chart, and a review panel. The user does not need to ask the model for every sort and click. This is where iframe UI shines. The venue results can be dense without becoming unreadable. The form can validate fields locally before submission. The chart can have tooltips and drill downs. App-only tools can refresh details, load venue records, or submit a draft without exposing every internal button action to the model. For maps, editors, dashboards, media review, seat selection, and complex client logic, MCP apps are the flexible option. The cost is lifecycle and security complexity. The widget may mount before approved tool input is available, so missing initial data must be normal. If every data tool remounts the iframe, the user loses local state. If the app does not summarize meaningful changes back to the model sees stale context. Then there is the security checklist, sandboxing, content security policy, declared domains, app-only tool visibility, OAuth boundaries, and server-side validation. A2UI takes a different bet. Instead of sending arbitrary app code, the agent sends declarative JSON. It creates a surface, updates components, updates a data model, and deletes the surface when it is done. The host renders the UI from a trusted component catalog. Cards, lists, forms, charts, buttons, and confirmations can feel native to the host, because the host controls the rendering instead of trusting an iframe's design system. Google's June 2026 write-up makes the bridge explicit. An MCP resource or tool can return A2UI payloads with the application/A2UI plus JSON media type. MCP handles tools and data access. A2UI handles the component surface. That means the same venue workflow can return native result cards, a controlled intake form, a standard risk chart, and a confirmation component without shipping a custom web app. A2UI is strongest when the interaction is common but important. Search result cards, filters, checkboxes, text fields, standard charts, review panels, confirmation buttons. These do not need a whole React bundle if the host already has trusted native components. The safety story is also cleaner. The agent proposes component descriptions and data bindings. The host decides what can render, how it looks, and which actions are allowed. The constraint is the catalog. If the workflow needs a custom map, spreadsheet-like editor, real-time canvas, advanced visualization, or unusual validation behavior, the declarative catalog may not be enough. The agent can also generate JSON that is syntactically valid but still wrong. Bad references, missing required fields, broken bindings, unreadable layout, or a button that technically renders but does not match the user's task. Declarative UI removes arbitrary code. It does not remove product design. The twist is that Google does not frame A2UI and MCP apps as enemies. It describes three combinations: A2UI over MCP, where MCP moves data, and A2UI renders native components. MCP apps inside A2UI, where a custom iframe becomes one island inside a native surface. And A2UI inside an MCP app, where the iframe includes an A2UI renderer. That is a layered architecture, not a winner. Take all protocol fight. Here's the failure that matters. The UI shows venues A and C selected. The model only saw the original search results. The user clicks approve. The backend receives a stale payload. The model says A and C were approved, but the server submits venue B because that was still stored as selected. That is not a rendering bug. That is a state authority bug. The UI, model, and backend each believed a different version of the workflow. The safest rule is simple. Business state lives on the server or backend. Widget state is draft state until submitted. Cross-session state belongs in durable storage. Model visible state should be intentionally summarized, not inferred from whatever the user clicked. For approval, the final screen should be rendered from the same server snapshot that will be submitted. The payload should contain stable IDs and a human-readable summary. The backend still validates identity, scope, and consent before it mutates anything. There is benchmark evidence that models can improve at generating A2UI, but keep the claim narrow. MindLab's Macaron A2UI paper reports an A2UI bench suite with 300 tasks. Its best reported model reaches 75.6 overall, and the paper measures failures like malformed JSON, schema errors, bad references, layout defects, and poor task grounding. Useful signal. But it is not an independent benchmark of plain text versus iframe apps versus A2UI in production. So the verdict is not one winner. Use plain text when portability, auditability, and model-visible reasoning matter more than interaction. It is the fallback every serious tool should have. Use MCP apps when the workflow needs custom client logic, maps, editors, media, advanced charts, dashboards, or dense interaction that would be painful in chat. Use A2UI over MCP when the workflow fits standard components and you want host-native rendering, catalog constraints, and a smaller arbitrary code surface. If you build this, start with 4 rules. 1. Keep authoritative business state on the server. 2. Treat UI state as local draft state until a server action confirms it. 3. Send concise model, visible summaries when UI state matters for reasoning. 4. Reserve iframe code for custom interaction that declarative components cannot carry. The transcript should record what was decided. It should not simulate every checkbox, chart hover, and half-completed form field. The next agent UI stack will not replace chat. It will stop asking chat to be everything. Chat is great for explanation, intent, and audit trails. MCP apps are strong custom interaction surfaces. A2UI is a path towards safer native controls. The hard part is making the selected state, approved state, model visible state, and server state converge before anything real happens. If this helped you think more clearly about A2UI, MCP apps, and agent approval flows, like the video and subscribe to Fluid Coding and AI. More practical agent engineering breakdowns are coming.